You in this battle, man, I'll soon be dead. I'll glue your face to my dick so I can fuck with your head. I got metaphors coming through my pores. You probably never been in a battle before, so I hope you realize your mistake. There ain't no party, got some candles, this will be a piece of cake. Folks, welcome to the Before Hours podcast, an internet radio phenomenon hosted by an occasional morning person. I ask the most interesting people I know about their sleep, their routine, life, love, stress, and setbacks. If you want to talk to us, you may do so by sliding into my DMs on Instagram, Bobby Sheen, LOL, because you know I bring the laughter. Or you could leave a comment on this very video if you're watching on YouTube. But for now, a comedian, a good friend, and I'm going to say it, a hilarious dude. Aww. Welcome to the podcast, Noah Snyder.
We planned that out. We planned that out before this. That wasn't. Wouldn't that be amazing if that was just us both? That's how we react when we hear my name specifically.
Yeah, your name. I'm like, I fucking love it.
Yeah, fuck, that's sick.
My name, missed me with that shit, but Noah's name. Sometimes I get so like excited thinking about that Noah's in the world that someone will ask me what my name is, and I'll go.
You'll go Noah Snyder.
Noah.
You know what gets me really excited? Whenever I'm watching a movie and they mention Maryland or a place in Maryland.
Because you're from Maryland.
I'm from Maryland. And like I get like giddy. I'm like, I'm from there.
Hell yeah, dude.
Yeah. It's like hearing a character have your name.
I like that.
Yeah.
Well, when I was
You ever had a character have your full name?
The bass player of Blues Traveler is Bobby Sheehan.
Really?
He's not a character, he's a real guy. Well, actually he's dead now.
Yeah.
He loved heroin a lot.
Yeah. But he's also not a character. That's a real person.
It's a real person. Yeah. But to me, he might as well be. Anybody that you don't personally know kind of has more of a character vibe to them.
That's true. Mm-hmm. He's like a Bugs Bunny to you.
Are you thinking of a character named Noah right now?
No. Well, I guess I have a similar situation. I've never seen a written character named Noah Snyder, but there is a surfer named Noah Snyder.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Hell yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Is he a good surfer? I don't even know how you...
I have to assume, because one time when I was at camp, I told somebody my name was Noah Snyder, and they're like, "You're the surfer?" And I was like, "No, I'm 10." No. And they were like, "Oh, okay." Then we never talked after that, because he wanted me to be the surfer.
But you just weren't.
I can't be the surfer.
I
can't. Oh, I can, but I'm not gonna.
Hey, but you're probably too old now.
I could get into it. I couldn't be like world famous, but I could get into it.
Yeah. I don't know.
I'm not gonna.
I think I'm too old for like a lot, like professional sports, any academia, stand-up comedy, like a lot of stuff I'm too old for now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But it just is what it is. I'm still gonna have fun.
If you had 3 years to like get as good as you possibly can at a sport and then try out at like open tryouts, like you can go to like an open combine.
Okay. Which
sport do you think you'd have the best shot at?
Do we think that poker is a sport?
Yes, we'll allow it.
Okay, because I don't understand.
Okay, so swimming.
Yours is swimming?
No, I was saying that's your answer after asking
that would have been fantastic.
Like, do you think poker is a sport? Yeah. Okay, free diving. Yeah.
See, folks, if I had the comedic timing of Noah, that's what I would have done.
No.
Instead, my fucking literal dumbass was like, wait, but we were talking about poker, though. Comedian that doesn't understand comedy.
No.
But I wouldn't do swimming, first of all. I wouldn't do smoking. That's what I almost said. I wouldn't do Olympic smoking for sure.
Yeah.
Because I have limited lung capacity, which is why I would be a bad swimmer, too.
Yeah.
I'm a weak swimmer, to be honest with you.
Really?
Yeah,
you like swimming?
I enjoy it when I'm there. I think I learned how to do it a bit too late. Can I be vulnerable?
Yeah.
I learned how to swim when I was 9 years old, so I was very close.
That's not that crazy.
It's kind of old though, no?
Not really. I feel like I could like doggy paddle for like I feel like every kid that at least like grew up around like near a pool or a body of water like could at least doggy paddle. But like 9's like a pretty normal. I mean, like now parents are way more about getting their kids in the water. Like they have like baby swim classes. But that's mostly just like throwing them in and seeing if they float.
Yeah.
But no, I don't think 9's crazy.
I feel like I developed late in a lot of ways because 9, I reached the following milestones: swam, rode a bike, stopped believing in Santa Claus.
Really?
Those are all too old to do those things.
I'm gonna one up you there. I stopped believing in Santa Claus when I was 12.
Aren't you Jewish?
Yeah.
So you have the fact that you ever, well, I guess
it drove me to be better. I was like, they have their own guy. No, we celebrated Christmas growing up because we weren't really that religious.
Okay.
And my dad's mom is Protestant,
Uh-huh.
but he was raised Jewish. But they didn't really care that much about like the Jewish holidays, so they were just like, your grandma. It would be more fun for your grandma if we did Christmas. And my brother and I were like, do we get more presents? And they're like, yeah.
That's all a kid
We
cares.
were like, yeah, let's go for it. And so I didn't stop believing in him until I was 12, which is you think 9 is, no, 9's like a normal age to stop believing in Santa. 12 is way too late. 12 is like, nobody even pulls you aside to tell you. You kind of just like pick up on social cues that it's weird you're still doing this. And they kind of let you come to that on your own.
Okay. Do you remember was there a specific thing that made you realize,
I remember there was just one day I was in school and I heard my friends talking about it. And like year after year, I was like becoming more secretive about how I still believe in Santa.
Mhm.
Like I was pretending to not, but in my heart of hearts, I was like, nah, he's real.
like an adult in a Christmas movie?
Yeah. And then finally at 12, I was like, I mean, there's no true proof that he's out there.
Uh-huh.
I became very atheist about it.
Right.
I was just like, I was battling it out in my mind palace, like a Sherlock Holmes.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just finally came to the conclusion that he wasn't real.
Damn.
I know.
Did you come out to your family as not believing in Santa Claus?
No, I kind of said later on that I lied to them. I was like, yeah, I stopped believing in him when I was 10, which I didn't say like too young. I wasn't like, oh yeah, I didn't believe him since I was like 8, because that wouldn't have been unbelievable. I said 10 because I was like, okay, I didn't really like say outright to anybody that I thought he was real, but I was still making lists. But I would give them to my parents. I was like, here's my Christmas list. And they wouldn't be like, for Santa or for us. They would just like take and be like, okay. I remember I said 10, and then either my brother or my mom, somebody in my family was just like, you stopped believing in him when you were 12. And I was just like, yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I was like an embarrassed kid. So I was like, no.
That is such a little kid thing to do. You're
no. What?
Yeah, saying you believed in Santa Claus too late is like saying you have a crush. You're like,
Oh, you don't get crushes anymore?
Oh no, I just meant as a boy.
Oh, like as a little kid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But although I do think like you could be infatuated with someone and you could love someone, but I think if you are over high school age, saying crush is strange.
I think crush has kind of come back for adults.
You think so?
Yeah.
Interesting.
I think because I've heard other people like say like, oh yeah, I have a crush on this person.
Huh.
Yeah.
I guess because I'm so oriented to be like, and maybe this is just a me thing. To me, like unrequited feelings, however you say that word, is like so embarrassing that I wouldn't even let it happen to me as an adult.
Yeah.
Like if I hadn't been on a date with someone, I wouldn't even allow I mean, I could be attracted to them, but I'm not going to be like, oh, they're so great. I wonder if we were together. Like that just makes me feel like, ugh. You know what I mean? Like that's something a teenager does.
No, because you get to live up in your brain for a little bit. Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah, I mean, also because, I don't have like a regular job. It's like there's so few opportunities for me to, if I was single, to meet somebody that way. It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Did
you meet, because you have a partner.
Yes.
Did you meet her online or by chance?
By the way, folks, Noah and I both have Canadian girlfriends.
Yes.
It's actually the reason why I asked him to come on the podcast today. Yeah.
Would you have asked me if I didn't?
No, I wouldn't.
That's fair.
I wouldn't have, no.
Tough, but fair.
Tough but fair. We met on Hinge.
Same.
Yeah. That's where you meet people now, dude.
Yeah. I wish I was only ever able, like in college, I was only ever able to like meet women that I was introduced to or that like I was already friends with. So that was the only way I'd ever have like hookups or date. I've never been the kind of guy who just like goes up to somebody at a party or at a bar, just like, hey, how are you doing? Or like anything like that.
Yeah.
I need that sense of familiarity, and it's not because I am like, I think. Well, I shouldn't have started with it's not because. I think it's because I have a fear of being rejected by strangers.
See, being rejected by a stranger to me is fine.
Yeah.
And the less, and
Yeah.
it's funny. I think you and I are very opposite in this way.
Yeah.
The less investment I have
Yeah.
before the rejection, even better.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But the script has changed a little bit. I have this experience, especially when I was younger, of walking up to a bar and then the vibe right away is not explicitly, but she's like, you should go away from me now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that, to me, like, this is why I'm so
Yeah.
good at stand-up, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Is that I'm like, okay, fair enough. That's
Yeah.
okay. What has happened sometimes to me as a single man is I go to a bar. I never buy a drink, but we have a conversation, and then I learn too far into the conversation that she has a boyfriend or she's not interested. And I'm like, this could have been an email.
But now you
know
have
what I
a
mean?
friend.
No, thank you. I have enough friends.
Okay.
I have never, to me, I have friends that are girls,
Yeah.
but to have a friend that like is somebody that rejected you romantically,
Yeah.
that seems terrible.
Yeah.
That seems horrible.
I think it's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You might be more mature than I.
Yeah.
Although please note that I just said than I.
I think it's fine as long as you, because like you hear those stories that like like older people will tell where it's like, I kept going to the same diner she was at for 5 months until she said yes. And it's like, you shouldn't tell anybody that. That's a crime.
Yeah.
Like this isn't cute.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I think as long as you take that first no in stride and just be like, okay, and then go back to being friends, I think it's usually fine. But then I think if you keep badgering them, I think there's like a fine line you have to walk.
To hear a man over high school age be like, I was friend zoned.
Yeah.
It's like, what? What are you talking about?
But I think that's also like, I think the idea of friend zone, and not like the idea of like, oh, you can get out. I'm not saying like, oh, you can get out of the friend zone. I think the idea of friend zoning in itself is just childish. Because it's like, then it's putting like a label on something that doesn't really exist.
Right.
Because in reality, it's just a woman just setting boundaries.
Yeah, and
or a man setting boundaries.
If you ask a girl out and she says no, you have the not be friends with her option too.
Yeah.
So
or you could just be friends with them and like not like pine over them.
Yeah. I don't know. That's weird to me.
Your boy loves to pine.
You like to pine?
Your boy's like a thick wooded forest. I love to pine.
That's nice. That's sweet. I mean, no one's gonna write a love song on.
Well, I don't pine now because I love my girlfriend.
Yeah. Well, you pine.
When I was single, I love to pine.
To pine is unrequited, right?
To pine is unrequited.
Okay, so you're not pining for your girlfriend. That doesn't make sense.
No.
Nice. Yeah. I don't know. Were you a romantic little boy? I picture you as a little boy, like giving a girl a rose.
I thought like showing love was these like big. I kind of got like I was a very lonely kid, so I'm holding hand warmers, by the way. That's why.
I don't know why. We are inside.
That's why I'm rocking. I told you I biked earlier, so my hands have just been cold all day. But just wanted to explain why I'm holding these. I was very lonely, so a lot of like my cues and like ideas of how to socialize came from movies. So my idea of like showing love was like big declarations.
Okay.
And I remember I would just send like the cheesiest texts. Very embarrassing little boy. Very embarrassing little boy.
Yeah, that's interesting. Noah's a little younger than I am, so the fact that you had to deal with text that can be screenshotted fills me with so much anxiety.
Yeah.
Oh my! Although what you didn't have to do was call a little girl's house and have the father answer the phone.
Oh, that's true.
That was very scary.
When were you born?
1990.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I got the tail end of that. By the time I was in high school, I was texting.
Yeah.
But when I was the first girl, I asked.
But you were like 333. Like you were doing that kind of texting.
Yes.
To start off. Yeah.
Yep. And then I've slowly made the transition. But the first girl I asked on a date. So this is 8th grade.
Yeah.
Right. And her friends told my friends that if I asked her on a date, she would say yes.
Yeah.
Right. And then so I was relayed this information that was very exciting. Right?
Yeah.
So what I did was I asked for her phone number
Yeah.
because I just didn't, like you were saying, like we get these ideas from pop culture. I don't know why I did this way, but I'm like, you got to get her number.
Yeah.
You know, even though we see each other at school. And then I was like, okay. And then after school, I have to call the house.
Yeah.
And talk to her dad, which is going to be, again, I think every dad is like Red from that 70s show, right?
Yeah.
So how
old were you when this happened?
I was just like 23, 24. No, I was in 8th grade.
Yeah.
And so
this was like 2002, 2003.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I started high school in 2005.
Yeah.
So maybe, yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
2003, 2004. And I called and her dad answered and he was very, very nice.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay.
Oh, that's nice.
He's like, oh yeah, you want to talk to so-and-so.
Yeah.
And then I was like, hey, would you like to go to the movies with me someday?
Yeah.
Someday. I might have said it that way.
Yeah.
Who knows? And she was like, oh yeah, sure. And then I was like, oh, and then I didn't have a plan because I just didn't think I was going to get that far.
Oh, that's adorable. Oh,
yeah.
So what happened?
I don't know what happened. It didn't happen.
You just never took her to the movies?
Yeah.
So you didn't like set up a time or like?
I had no tools.
Oh man.
I had no older brother. I had nothing. My dad's a great guy. He never gave me much advice in that.
And then,
realm.
so would you like see her around school after that?
Yeah, and it was just. I remember. Okay, gym class.
Yeah.
I remember I was next to her and she was next to me, and I was like, "What's going on?"
Yeah.
And I now know as an adult that she was anxious in a way that might have been because she liked me. But because I was a little boy, I was like, I think I'm being I'm the opposite.
You thought she hated you.
I thought I was making her uncomfortable in some way.
Yes.
Which I now know I wasn't.
Yeah.
But it's almost like you're talking about like old guys being like, I would harass this lady until she went on a date with me.
Yeah.
I feel like we're the first generation to be so oriented in the other direction that sometimes we would miss like very obvious cues.
Yeah.
You know, or just be super sensitive to thinking, oh, am I doing too much?
Yes.
You know? So yeah, oh, and that girl became very into Jesus and hates abortion. So it wouldn't have worked out anyway.
No,
because I love abortion, dude. God bless it. Right. So you never believed in Santa Claus after the age of 12?
After the age of 12, never.
What?
Well, I'd say I'm agnostic.
Yeah. Well, yeah, who's to say? Maybe Santa Claus is like a feeling inside of us.
Yeah.
I found out that there wasn't Santa Claus at the age of 9 because I heard 2 boys talking about it and they were joking about like the vibe that I picked up from them. I had never had a semblance of thinking Santa wasn't real.
Yeah.
And then they were like joking as if they believed in Santa, but that's a ridiculous idea.
Yeah.
And then I picked up on the sarcasm.
Yeah.
And I was like, are you guys saying Santa's not real? And they both, I can't believe
blowing your whole world up.
I can't believe 2 9-year-old boys behaved this way because they looked at each other, looked at me, saw that I still believed and went, oh no, we're just joking around. Of course he's real.
Oh.
What nice little boys, dude.
Yeah.
And at that point, I'm like, all right, the jig is up.
Most 9-year-old boys would be like, no, you fucking idiot.
Right?
But empathetic boys.
They were nice.
Yeah.
And the one guy, his brother went to Iraq.
You're from...
And he came back alive and as far as I know, fine.
Oh, good.
I'm sorry, what were you saying?
You grew up in Boston, right?
No, everyone thinks that because of how I look.
Yeah. Where'd you grow up?
Upstate New York.
Oh, okay. Basically Boston.
Basically.
Yeah.
Wait, no.
Upstate New York, I feel like a lot of nice people come from there. Everybody I know, like my buddy Kyle, he's from Albany. He's like the nicest guy I've ever met.
Yeah. It's weird. Where I'm from, it's like 50 miles north of New York.
Yeah, where I'm from, everybody's a fucking asshole.
Okay. Because you're from Maryland.
Yeah.
I think it might be similar. About the only difference I think between like regular suburbs and upstate New York where I'm from is we had a lot of first and second generation outside New York City people. if that makes sense.
Okay.
So I knew a lot of kids that were from New York City and
Yeah.
a lot of kids whose parents were from New York City.
Yeah.
So there was a little bit of that New York City
Italian.
culture. Italian,
Disgusting.
Irish, God forbid,
Oof.
and even Latino.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
And then Hensley was black.
Nice.
Yeah, shout out Hensley if you're listening.
Was that a person or a town?
Hensley was the one black guy in my town, as far as I know. Well, the one black kid, I think there might have been some black adults, but they didn't go to the elementary school that I went to. Oh, although my first black teacher was Mrs. Hammond, and she was in 4th grade.
Oh, she sounds nice.
She was a nice lady.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Trying to think. Who's your favorite teacher?
I don't know if I would say she's my favorite teacher, but whenever I think of teachers, I think of, I'm going to give her a fake name because of the story I'm about to tell.
Okay.
We're going to say Mrs. Smith. How creative, right? So Mrs. Smith.
She let me hit so often. She was Mrs. Smith was the coolest.
She's my 2nd grade teacher. And so, when she let me hit, I was very surprised. Mostly because she's like, I'm going to let you hit. And I was like, I don't even understand what that means. But she was like, this is going to make what you said even funnier. She was like the church lady.
Oh, okay.
She was very, I don't know if she was religious, but her vibe was church lady.
Very, very sweet, very like proper.
No.
Really?
She was a hard ass.
Oh, so she was like a nun, she's like nun style teacher. Was
Fear
she
is the
physical?
way that God, no.
Oh, okay.
Not that old, no, jeez. But she, one time, I remember feeling this way, even as a little boy. The emotional reaction she would have to us being little boys was adult in an inappropriate way.
Okay.
You ever see like a parent and they're screaming at their child for misbehaving as if their child is an adult?
Yes.
And you're like, okay, you need to realize that their brain is like underdeveloped.
Yeah.
Like they're literally just being a 5-year-old. You have to
Yeah.
relax. So she was like that every day. And one day, and this is in 2nd grade, some kid in our class wasn't paying attention, and she caught it. Like she asked him a question, and he was like, "What?" And she went, "You know what? That's it. I can't stand you kids. I work hard every day, and none of you appreciate it. One day, I'm gonna go outside in the playground and blow my brains out, and it'll be all of your fault." Classic Mrs. Smith.
That's a cool thing to say. To 2nd graders. That's a really cool thing to say. To very impressionable, very underdeveloped 2nd graders.
Dude, I remember going home, playing Mario 64 because that's what that's all I did.
Just going home blank face. Just, how was your day? Fine. Ms. Smith said she was going to kill herself in the playground. So, if you want to bring that up to at the next school board meeting.
Well, my mom gets a call.
Yeah.
And
hey, I'm going to kill yourself. It's because of your son.
Yeah, Mrs. Smith called every...
Not giving a fuck. The cool lady.
My mom comes downstairs, interrupts me playing Mario 64, and goes, "Bobby, did something happen in school today?"
Yeah.
And I actually... I didn't have the 1,000-mile stare.
Yeah.
I was like being a little boy playing video games.
Yeah.
And I paused and I was trying to think. I'm like, well, what was unusual that happened today? And then I was like,
so many of our teachers tell us they're going to kill themselves each day. I don't know. They gave us an extra applesauce at each lunch.
So
each lunch. We had 2 lunches today.
Two lunches.
Lunch.
Oh, as a fat little boy, I would have.
That would have been great. You were fat?
As a fat little boy.
But I'm sorry. We digress.
Okay. Well, my mom was like, "Well, what happened?" And I said, "Oh, Mrs. Smith said she was gonna kill herself, and it was gonna be our fault." And so my mom had already heard the story from like a parent.
Yeah.
She wanted to see how I felt about it.
Yeah.
And I said it like that. And she, my mom's a very sweet lady. She goes, "Well, did that make you feel a certain way when she said it?" And I said, "Oh, she's always saying weird stuff like that. Can I play video games again?" And my mom was like, "All right, Jesus." So I feel like 2nd grade is when some people were processing things in an adult way, and some people like me were like, "I actually need to save the princess."
But that's also in a certain light, that is a pretty adult way to see that, as like, She says she's going to kill herself so often. I don't really think she's going to do it, Mom. She seems to be more bark than bite. I'm going to go back to playing video games.
Oh my God. I don't know. Weird. I was a fat little boy. Were you a fat little boy?
No, I was like rail thin. I was 60 pounds for like a really long time.
Okay.
Until I was probably around like 10. Whenever my mom would see me turn sideways, she'd call me Flat Stanley. She'd be like, "Where'd Noah go?" I'd be like, "I'm right here." So yeah, I was a really skinny kid. And then when I was in high school, I started like putting on, I wasn't like getting fat, but I would like start going to the gym.
Hell yeah.
In high school, and like I started playing sports. And so I just started like putting on a little more weight, and muscle, but like you could see my ribs when I was a kid. And it's not like I just had a really, really high metabolism. Cause like I would fucking go through a sleeve of Oreos in a day. So I wasn't like being underfed. It was just like I shit like crazy. Oh my God. You should have seen the poops I took. My mom, bless her soul, would have to come into the bathroom with a coat hanger and cut my shits in half some days because they were so massive. Like I was shitting bricks.
Not the expression, folks, if you're just joining us.
Yeah. Like
They're just joining a podcast.
huge. Yeah. Imagine joining a podcast. Let's scroll to the middle and see. That's usually when Bobby hits his stride. I'm going to skip past the ads in the beginning. By the way, was that whole intro canned? Like, do you do that at the beginning of every one, or was that just off the dome?
I do the same intro every time.
Damn, you were quick with it.
But I like repetition. I almost the same way I like to sing or rap the same songs over and over.
Yeah.
I like doing the intro each time.
Intro's fun.
You know?
Feel a pride in like knowing what you're doing.
Yeah, I think so. And I mean, it sets up the very loose premise of this show.
Yeah.
You know, which is I ask people about their sleep, their routine, life, love, stress, and setbacks. But are you a morning person?
I'm trying to become more of one. I've been a lot better about getting up at either my first alarm at 8 or my second one at 8:30. But I've been trying to become more of a morning person. I just go to bed so late. But I've been reading before bed every night, which has been helping. Because usually I was just looking at my phone for like hours on end before.
Oh, yeah, with the blue light.
Blue light, which I'm starting to hear is bullshit. Well, at least the glasses are. Blue light glasses?
What are blue light glasses?
You never heard of blue light glasses?
Never heard
Blue
of
light glasses were this thing that came out in like 2019, 2018, maybe 2020. And they were like glasses that keep blue light from reaching your eyes. And apparently people were just putting like just regular glass in the glasses and like being like, yeah, it's stopping the blue light from getting through to your retinas.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's interesting too, because I think like it's almost putting a Band-Aid on the problem because blue light's only part of the issue. The other issue
Yeah, why don't you take it out of the fucking phone? Like
Yeah.
that might help solve this.
I am a grayscale daddy now though.
What's grayscale?
You put grayscale on your phone.
Oh, yeah.
My friend Ben Miller, friend of the show, taught me how to do that.
Yeah, I might have to do that on my phone. I just love color.
Mm-hmm.
I love seeing color.
Yeah, it is. That's that. I mean, you're saying that as if that's unique to. That's why the phone is that way.
Yeah, I'm like the giver from the movie The Giver. I just love color.
I haven't seen The Giver. I haven't seen so many movies.
What was it? You never had to read The Giver?
I couldn't even tell you what it's about.
The Giver was this book. I felt like everybody. Connor, did you have to read The Giver?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, The Giver.
I like that you talk louder so he could hear you.
Well, I don't know if you can hear me from here. There's a big curtain.
I also am wearing headphones.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna keep yelling when I talk to Connor. When I call to Connor, I am going to yell.
Actually, that is helpful for the listeners to know that you're talking.
And
to
he's
somebody.
farther away. Yeah. The Giver is this book about basically this boy is born into a society where nobody sees color and everybody's basically like given a job at like when they turn like 13 or something.
Okay.
It's like the first young adult book you have to read in like middle school. And basically one of the kids starts seeing color and they're like, oh, you have the same power as the Giver. You're going to become the Giver. And then he has to like go talk with the Giver every day. And it's about like fascism and all that jazz. Yeah, it's a good book. I liked it. I liked it a lot. That was the first book I remember reading as a kid that was longer than like 10 pages that I was like, oh, this is really good. I like this a lot.
I was one of those douchebags that liked Catcher in the Rye.
I hated Catcher in the Rye. I hated that my teacher made me read that. I thought Holden Caulfield was just being a whiny bitch, and I didn't relate to him at all.
Interesting. I think you had more of a healthy adolescence. Than I asked my mom when the worst time like of me being her son was. Like, because some kids it's terrible twos.
Yeah.
Some kids it's like middle school. My mom's like, you were such a good baby and a good like toddler and little boy.
Yeah.
The entirety of you being like a teenager was so annoying.
Was it because you were reading Catcher in the Rye?
I was reading Catcher in the Rye and relating to it.
Yeah.
Yikes. Although
but that is like the time to relate to that book.
Yeah,
When
if you're like 73.
everything is bullshit. Yeah, if you're like 30 and you're like, everything's bullshit, it's like, okay, man. Learn to live with it.
Yeah. That is the thing is like, if anything, part of me was like, why don't they just make Holden get a job?
Yeah, I would love to see where Holden is now. Well, he probably killed himself. That's
the thing is he is just extremely mentally ill. That's
Yeah.
the other part. That you could read The Catcher in the Rye in a totally other way and be like, oh, he's sick.
Yeah.
Instead of being like, oh, well, society put him away because he saw that. No, he can't function.
Yeah.
He watches his little sister on a Ferris wheel and tries to slit his wrist.
Yeah.
Not.
No, he's extremely manic depressive. And somebody should help him.
Yeah. Holden, if you're out there. Actually, J.D. Salinger, I tried to read Franny and Zoe, which is his next book, and it's just not. I get why. He was like, I'm not writing anymore. I'm like, yeah, because you fucking.
Yeah, because you're a bad writer, J.D. Salinger.
He was a Christian Scientist.
Really?
Not for the listeners, that doesn't mean that he was a Christian and also a scientist. Christian.
Finally. Godmium.
It was this weird. Christian scientists basically they think that and maybe I'm oversimplifying this, but basically if you're sick, God will help you.
You pray.
Yeah, so don't take medicine. And then the state took his children away from him.
Yeah.
Because he was like, I'm not going to get him vaccinated, which used to not be cool.
Yeah.
Now it's kind of cool.
Now it's edgy.
Yeah. Yeah. Isn't that weird that don't get vaccinated was the thing like granola moms used to say, and now it's like truck nuts dads?
Yeah.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah, it's weird that that Venn diagram that's formed between like people who live out of their vans and other people who live out of their vans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the horseshoe theory in action.
Yeah.
Which is if you have horses, you have like...
You also have horseshoes.
Yeah, that's the theory, dude.
Yeah. I'm at this horse ranch and I'm thinking they might have horseshoes here.
So I am very jealous of you that you started going to the gym in high school because the listeners know that I am very sad that it took me until my college years to learn.
But you're so in shape.
I know. I wish I learned it earlier though.
Yeah, but look at you now.
That's true, I guess.
Yeah.
Right?
You wouldn't have gotten there if not for your past.
That's true. That's true about everything, isn't it?
Yeah.
You are like your whole past.
Yeah.
I guess. I wish I didn't waste so much time being a fall down drunk. That was like, I look at it more. I used to look at it with shame, and then you get past shame.
Yeah.
But I'm like, that was just such a fucking useless time. Like,
Yeah, but now that you realize it now, you have all this time now.
I guess so. The doctor told me my liver is like as if I had never drank.
Good.
Like, thank
That's
God.
amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's your relationship with drugs and alcohol?
I used to like drugs, alcohol a lot. I drank a lot in college. I did a lot of acid in college. After college, I stopped really doing psychedelics senior year. That was kind of like when I was like hitting it the heaviest. And then was really I didn't quit smoking weed after my sophomore year just because I really didn't like it. It was just making me like paranoid and anxious. And like I was just skipping class every day and being lazy as fuck. So I quit smoking. I'm very lucky to just be able to quit stuff like that cold turkey. And quit drinking 2 years ago on December 9th of 2022.
Oh, congrats.
Thank you. I did a relapse day, or no, sorry. I did the relapse day on December 9th of 2023. I quit drinking on Halloween of 2022. Did the relapse day to see if I missed it at all. I didn't, so I've been sober ever since. And yeah, I had gone on like a 2-month bender leading up to when I like first quit drinking. And I was really depressed and didn't really understand why. And then I talked to my psychiatrist. And he was like, well, how much are you drinking? And I was like, every day for like a month or two. And he was like, oh, do you think that might be the problem? And I was like, maybe. He was like, do you think you might want to take a break? And I was like, yeah. And then I quit for a week and immediately felt better. And then I was just like, yeah, I think I might just be done with that part of my life. So I just kind of cut it out entirely.
That's so interesting to me. You think when your psychiatrist asked you, like when they said, how much have you been drinking? And then you're answering, are you like, oh, this is it? Are you figuring it out then? Or did you kind of know the whole time?
I had kind of been approaching it slightly leading up to then for like a year or two. I was like, I should probably take a break. I should probably cut back. I didn't think I was going to quit fully. Like I thought I was just going to like try to, but I know myself well enough. It's the same thing with like, I have a very addictive personality. So like if I'm doing something, I'm going fully like pedal to the metal. So if I'm going out to have like a few drinks, I'm not just having a few drinks. If like it's just like I'm just like more.
Yep.
And so I kind of realized that about myself. And now whenever I think about whenever I'm like really craving it, I'm just like, would I be happier if I drank than if I didn't drink tonight? And usually, almost always, my answer is yes. And even when my answer is I don't think so, I'm still like, you're probably lying to yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's so cool, man. You're by the way, I think you might be the only person that's like, I'm gonna take a break, try it, and see how I feel. And that didn't lead to you picking up where you left off.
Thank you. I appreciate you saying that. Yeah, it was very surprised. I was honestly really surprised because going into it, I had planned it out that I was like, I'm gonna drink on this night, see how it goes. And if I miss it and I think that I can like drink in moderation after, I will probably go back to it. And if I just wake up the next day and I'm like, I'm fine with not going back, I won't. And I woke up the next morning and I was like, yeah, it was fun, but I have like just as much fun, if not more, when I'm not drinking. I also like just being way more clear-headed.
That's nice. Yeah, and to know that the only thing you'll have to deal with the next morning is like, I don't know, sleep deprivation if you were up late.
I feel way more like if I fuck up, like if I know I'm sober all the time and I fuck up, I know that's on me. I can't just be like, oh, well, I was drunk.
Yeah.
If I like said something that was like rude, which nobody ever like, I don't think I was ever like mean when I was drunk. I would just like act foolish and like say something embarrassing.
Yeah.
And that was kind of more like, oh yeah, I don't like that.
And it's funny too, because I was a happy drunk most of the time, like 99% of the time. But when you're drunk all the time, that 1% is going to catch up to you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, that was my and
I was starting to get bitter.
Yeah, that
when
happens.
I would drink, I wouldn't be like mean, but like with myself, I would be getting bitter, and I was just like, oh, this isn't. Why am I even fucking doing this?
Yeah.
What about you? What's your relationship with it like?
I quit in 2016, and
good for you.
I think I have the alcoholic gene. I think more likely than not, if I did a relapse day, I would. I'd pick up right where I left off. Yeah. So I am an alcoholic in the sense that I literally can't touch it. Like I won't. I remember I was at a wedding and my buddy was like, well, there's champagne. I mean, you could just have the champagne. I'm like, literally, I can't.
People say that to me all the time. They're like, because I don't think anybody truly thinks I'm sober. I think they think I'm just on like some long break because I keep saying I'm going to do another relapse day.
Okay.
But it's going to be farther out. And they're like, well, if we're at a wedding, like I said to my parents, I was like, maybe I'll drink with you guys tonight. My dad went, I don't care.
Yeah. Oh, there's the difference between you and I, Noah, because if I said to my parents, I think I'm going to drink with you guys tonight, that would not be their response.
Well, I've also kind of explained to them, I've never fully cut out the idea of drinking entirely out of my life. I'm just like, I know I like myself better when I'm not. So I really try not, like I'll have a non-alcoholic beer if I'm really, like, do you ever have non-alcoholic?
No.
Yeah, I'll have that if I'm like really craving it. But I'm just like, I'm pretty good at just staying like pretty like just sober. I did try an edible recently for the first time in like years. That was fun. Weird. Okay. So I didn't know 10 milligrams is a lot, maybe it's not. Maybe I'm just a pussy. But I tried it, and then I told people after, like, yeah, I took 10 edibles, and it like rocked me. They're like, yeah, 10 edibles is like way too much if you haven't done it in a while. But I did 10 edibles. And then I sat down on the couch and started watching a movie and just got knocked on my fucking ass by it. Put on Alien Romulus, really good, by the way, if you haven't seen it. And said out loud to my roommate, "Holy shit, I would hate if this happened to me." And then 5 hours passed. I was still high, and I had to go host a show. So I went. First time I've ever performed high. It was fun, but it was one of those things where like I don't ever want to do this again. And then just went home and was just like anxious for the whole week after.
The whole week after.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just fucks with my brain chemistry.
Yeah, I missed the edibles because I quit drinking, and then they have all these low calorie beers.
Yeah.
And then I quit smoking, and they have all these. That's the thing I hated the most about smoking was the actual act of smoking.
Yeah.
I hate smoke. I think it's so gross. It would
Yeah.
make my I was one of those coughers. Like I'd be coughing constantly.
Yeah.
You know.
I've been using Zins.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the only nicotine I can really do. I did smoke a cigarette today, because for a sketch, but it still felt really good. Like, okay, do you like the feeling of cigarettes?
No, I don't.
No.
Any sort of to me when I was young, and I never smoked cigarettes, and when I
Yeah.
smoked weed, it was like I was after the effects.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking to myself, because there weren't edibles yet. I mean, there were like weed brownies, but you had to have like a friend with a weird older brother,
Yeah.
like make brownies
Yeah.
for you. You know, now it's like, fuck, but
Yeah.
it's for the best, dude. Because I was one of those kids that when I got high, I got so high.
Yeah.
And the first time I got high, I had to talk to a police officer.
That sucks. How old were you?
I was 14.
Where were you?
So I was 14, and
Yeah.
for some reason
I was 14. I was at the police academy.
yeah.
Their tour.
Dude, I got to hang out with the cool older kids, or at least that's what I called them at the time.
Yeah.
Right. That like smoke pot with a 14-year-old. And I got so high. I think
Yeah.
the highest I've ever been.
Yeah.
You know, like I was taking those like really big hits and holding it in
Yeah.
as long as I could. And I remember like I didn't really care about looking like an ass. I'm like, I want to get high. So I was like coughing and all that stuff. And I've always looked like younger than I am. So when I was 14, I looked like, I don't know, 12 at most.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I'm just like a little kid walking with these, 15 to like 18-year-olds.
Yeah.
And an 18-year-old can like look like an adult
Yeah.
sometimes. You know what I mean? They are. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I guess it was that just seemed weird. And also, this has always happened to me. Like I have bright orange hair.
Yeah.
You know, I stick out in a crowd. So this cop was like driving by. I guess it's a slow day, right? I mean, it's a town of 3,000 people. It's always a slow day.
Yeah.
And he sees us and he sees me. And I guess he was just curious
Yeah.
because I looked fucking blitzed.
Yeah.
And he calls me over and he goes, "What's your name?" And I go, "Bobby."
Yeah.
And as I'm saying that, I'm like, oh, I should have given him a fake name, as if it.
As if it would matter.
I mean, I'm still in my thinking the permanent record is a real thing.
Yeah.
So I'm like,
at the end of the day, he probably would have just called your parents.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And he goes, "What's your last name?" And as he's saying, "What's your last name?" I think to myself, like, well, don't say your real last name. Don't say Sheehan.
Yeah.
And I went, Sheeran. And he's like, "All right, Bobby Sheeran, you get out of here, okay?"
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, Christ.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Put the fear of God in you.
I did get caught smoking weed when I was a little older. I was 16 and I was supposed to be going to church.
Yeah.
And I
Ooh.
know my mom was like, "I don't feel well,
Yeah.
but you have to drive to church and
Yeah.
come back." And I was like, "I'm going to drive to the woods, smoke a
Yeah.
joint, eat a bunch of junk food."
Oh, so she was like, "I'm not going to church, but you have to go to church."
Mhm.
Oh, that sucks.
It does suck. She made me drive to church.
Did you believe in God at that point?
No.
Yeah.
And I told her that, but she was like,
Yeah.
"Well, when you're 18, you don't have to go
Yeah.
to church anymore."
So strange.
My mom.
Well, I'm sorry, not strange. It's
Mhm.
it's how you were raised, but it's
Right.
just such a strange thing to make a kid do.
Yeah.
Be like, I'm not doing this today. You have to.
And I didn't. I
Yeah.
smoked a joint. I ate junk food. I listened to Eminem.
Exactly. The exact opposite of what your mom wanted you to do.
I was doing so many naughty things,
Yeah.
dude. The only
so
thing.
funny for your mom to be like, go to church and doing the exact opposite of church. I'm going to the church of being 16.
Yeah, dude.
I'm down.
Yeah, I came back and I think my hubris got the best of me.
Yeah.
Because I had spent 2 years getting high and coming home and no one noticing,
Yeah.
you know? But I think some of that was I would go out, get high, be with my friends for hours,
Yeah.
be outside
Yeah.
in the fresh air and come back. What I did this time, I remember it was cold. So I opened the window a crack. I was hotboxing without knowing what hotboxing was.
Yeah.
And only being away for an hour,
Yeah.
coming back, eyes red, smelling like pot. And my mom was like, "You smell like marijuana." And I was like, no. No, I did. No, I
lying.
don't. I lied. And then she was like, "Well, if you're doing drugs, you have to let me know because then we have to send you to rehab." Right. And I was like, no, I really wasn't. I
Yeah.
must have been around people that were.
Yeah.
She's like, "At church?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's good. Yeah, there were teenagers at church today."
Yeah.
And then my dad came home and my dad was like, "So you told your mom you weren't doing drugs even though you smell like pot. Well, you're my son. And I know you would never lie to me. So I guess I just have to believe you. But I don't want you coming home smelling like pot smoke again." And I was like, "Yes, sir." And then Noah, here's the fucked up part. I learned a couple of years ago that my mom had called her sister, my aunt, like laughing, being like, "I can't believe he thought I wasn't going to notice." And I was like, well, of course that's because my parents aren't actually psychos. They just wanted me to
Yeah.
not do that again.
Yeah.
But my 16-year-old brain was like, they're
I
going to
just got
send
one
me.
over.
They're going to send me to rehab.
Yeah.
Yikes, dude.
Yeah.
Can you imagine going to rehab and you're like, "Hi, my name is Bobby and I'm addicted to marijuana."
Yeah. That is good. That is a good parent lie. Just to like dangle that in front of you and then be like, "We're not going to do that."
Were your parents strict?
They were strict in good ways. They didn't want us getting high, no, even like in the house. But they weren't like extremely vengeful when we did. Like I remember I got caught smoking weed once. I kind of a similar situation. I was supposed to meet my mom out at dinner. So she left before I did. I went into the bathroom, lit up a gravity bong.
It's such a teenage boy thing to do.
Teenage boy thing. She comes back. She goes, "Oh, hey, I forgot my keys." And then she walks up to the bathroom door and I hear her go, "Hey, by the way, don't forget, are you smoking weed in there?" And then I'm like in the middle of taking a hit and blow it out. And I go, "No." And then she goes, "Noah, it smells like a fucking skunk." And then there's a window in the bathroom and I think about knocking out the screen and throwing it out. And then I go, that is going to be so loud. Also, she's not stupid.
Yeah.
Just me rummaging around like a raccoon. Being like, "No, I'm not doing anything." So I just open the door and she looks in and like seeing a gravity bong as somebody who's never seen one, it looks like I'm smoking crack. And she goes, "What is this?" And I go, "It's called a jeeb." Slang. And she just goes,
You must have felt like such a douchebag.
I felt like such a douche. And she just goes, "I'm so fucking upset with you. Don't come to dinner. Your dad's going to be pissed." And then she left and went to get dinner by herself. And I was high. So now I get like 2 hours alone at the house. So I just put on a movie and I watched that for like 2 hours, having a good time. She comes home. She's looking at me. She's like, "Your dad is going to be so fucking pissed when he gets home." He comes home. And he doesn't even look at me. I'm sitting in this chair in the corner and he just goes, he's like mumbling to himself. He's like, "Smoking doobies, fucking smoking." And then he gets louder. He goes, "Smoking doobies, smoking goddamn doobies in my house." And I start smiling and he goes, "Oh, you think this is funny?" And I'm like, "No, it's not." And he just goes, "Smoking doobies in my goddamn house." And then he just sends me to my room. And then I'm in the car with my mom the next day and she goes, "Your dad and I were really upset." And I go, "Okay, I understand. But if he keeps saying smoking doobies to me, I'm going to keep laughing really hard. She goes, that's fair. And then they took me to dinner that night, and they were just like, we're disappointed, but like, look, you're a teenager. We get it. Your dad, like, my dad used to like follow the Grateful Dead around. So he was like, we get it. Just like, don't be an idiot. Be safe when you do it. We're not angry with you. It's just like, don't be disrespectful of the house. And I was
Right.
like, yeah, I completely get that. I
Mhm.
was like, I'm sorry. Like, I shouldn't have. That's not something I should have done, especially not before like going to dinner with you.
Mhm.
So then and like they just talked to me like an adult, and we're just like laid it out. I was like, am I grounded? They were like, for like a day. Like, yeah, you can't go out tomorrow and be with your friends. I was like, that's fair. So I just kind of like hung out with them that night. And it was just nice. They were super understanding and like very casual is the wrong way to put it, but they were very just like they were parents. They they handled it in a really good way.
Even though you were smoking doobies.
Smoking doobies in the house. My God.
Dude, I hate being in a and this happens to me all the time because I laugh a lot.
Yeah.
And when you're in a scenario when you're not supposed to laugh, but something funny is
Same.
happening,
Yeah.
I can't handle myself.
Yeah.
Anytime I'm going to a funeral,
Yeah.
I'm like, Bobby, you have to behave.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Because I mean, I remember one time I was at a funeral and you know how they use old-timey language in the Bible.
Yeah.
So erect also means to stand up straight.
Yeah.
And they said
How old were you when
erect.
this happened?
No, I'm an adult.
Oh, okay.
But just imagining like Jesus being erect or whatever.
Yeah.
An inappropriate sexual thought
Yeah.
with religion will make me laugh.
Yeah.
Just how I am.
Yeah.
That's how I am, baby.
I never grew up like we never went to temple or anything. So like I would go if I slept over at my friend Chris's house. I would go to church with his family on Sunday, and they would kind of like trick me into going. They would be like, "We're going to Chick-fil-A after," and I'd be like, "Oh, great!" And then we'd get there and I'd be like, "Wait a second, it's Sunday."
Yeah. Oh yeah, Chick-fil-A's not even open.
Yeah.
I remember one time, my friend Adam.
Maybe it was Saturdays because they were. Is Presbyterian the one that goes on Saturdays? Whichever one goes on Saturday. They might have been Presbyterian, so that we might have actually gotten Chick-fil-A. But we would always get like fast food after. But they'd say Chick-fil-A since they knew I really liked Chick-fil-A.
That's the best one, dude.
Yeah.
And that's the Jesus one.
That is the Jesus one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Interesting that it isn't open because you'd think that's where like all the Christians would want to
You're not
go
supposed
after.
to work on the Sabbath.
It's true.
That's how you know someone's like OG Christian when they're
True.
like, I don't do things on Sunday.
I think they're just lazy.
Yeah.
A couple of lazy bones.
I remember when I was growing up, my childhood friend, he wasn't raised religious and he came to Catholic mass with my family and I.
Yeah.
And I was like, so what'd you think? Me being like, I don't
Yeah.
know, 13 and really being excited about
Yeah.
Catholicism. And him being like, it's weird. And
Yeah.
I was like, oh, what do you mean? He's like, everyone gets up and sits down and kneels at the same time and they say the same words at the same time.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, yeah, I could see why that would be terrifying, you know, especially if you don't know the word.
Yeah, to like an outsider, it kind of seems culty.
Mhm.
I honestly liked when I would go with my friend's family to church because we never did it growing up, and I always kind of like wanted to experience it. And then when I went, they had like a really nice pastor, and he would wear he would wear a different pair of basketball shoes every time I went. And he would just tell these really nice stories, and they would be metaphors for something like very sweet. And a lot of his was about like kindness and like how it's very important to be kind to people,
Mhm.
and passion. And like if you do something, never go like halfway, be very passionate. And I was like, oh yeah, I would have really liked like going to something like this growing up.
Mhm.
But maybe it's good because maybe my parents would have gone to like a really bad one.
Yeah.
Who would have been like, you're going to be racist. And I would be like, I don't want to be. And they're like, well, you're gonna. And you're like, all right.
You're going to be racist.
Yeah. That's the message. You're going to be racist and hate women. Okay. Well, guess this is something I'm going to have to battle with for the next 40 years.
Our Lady of Xbox Live.
Of Xbox Live.
Damn. I don't know. Yeah, it's interesting. I think like religion is where a lot of people get like community.
Yeah.
But sometimes where they get community is also
Yeah.
where they learn that like embryos are living beings or whatever.
Yeah. What was nice? I went to Josh Creedon. I went
Yeah.
he invited me to go to church with him one day.
Mhm.
And I wanted to get to know him better and like his life. And I went. It was really nice. They had like they had really good like a really good cellist and drummer there, and I think like a guitarist like playing like while everybody was like walking in, and they would play like with the hymns that were playing, and I was like, oh, this is really nice. And then the preacher or priest or whatever it is for, I think he's Presbyterian, whatever the name is for it in that sect. Very similar, just very nice and very all about like kindness and joy and understanding each other. And I think when it's put in that light, it's a really good thing when it's kind of that kind of community where it's all about acceptance and helping you become a better person, and not that you should feel guilty for feeling a certain way. I mean, not including things that you do that are harmful.
Yeah.
But being very like about like education and learning about being a better person, and not about being like you should feel bad about sinful thoughts. I think I like the ones where it's more like, okay, what about it do you enjoy? Like kind of teaching more like accepting yourself for who you are, and not kind of using a 1,000-year-old book to dictate how you should live your life.
I remember being a little boy, and I grew up Catholic, so we had to go to confession.
Yeah.
And confession is basically you go into a room with a priest and you're telling God your sins, but through the intermediary of the priest, right?
Yeah.
And as a little boy,
Yeah.
there's nothing more terrifying than that.
Yeah.
Because it's like a 40 to 70-year-old man.
Yeah.
And you have to tell him about
The most judgmental person on earth.
But I remember one time we had to see Monsignor.
Oh, and he's like the top dog.
The top one. Yeah. His Monsignor Smith. It's
Yeah.
crazy. You keep running into all these Smiths in my life.
Yeah.
He's for sure dead by now. But
Yeah. Is this his real name?
no.
Oh, okay.
But everyone said like how, because he was super old and sort of had this like a way about him. Like
Yeah.
he had really great posture.
Somebody who knows his station, like he knows he is like kind of top dog, and he needs to put on a certain air about himself.
So I was a 13-year-old boy, and
Yeah.
I was a true believer as a teenager. So 13, I was fully, I'm like, I have my sins and I have to tell them during confession. So I go into confession and I'm very nervous to do this, but I tell this old man that I've been watching pornography on the internet. And he looks at me with he's just looking at me, right? And he responds, well, pornography is different from sex.
Yeah.
And one day you will have sex.
Yeah.
And if you want a healthy sex life, you probably shouldn't consume that much pornography.
Oh.
And even as a little boy, I didn't have the language for this, but as a little boy, I was like, did this motherfucker just give me a calm, secular answer?
Yeah.
As to like, don't overindulge in this thing.
He came at you as a person and not as like a what's the word for it? Like a pillar. Like I think that's the way to do it.
He deviated from the book. He was supposed to be like, that is impure.
Yeah.
And you have to say 3 Hail Marys.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of people at work, they go off script.
Yeah.
And I think he was like, even as an old priest, he was like, listen, some of the sex stuff in the Bible is a little outdated.
Yeah.
I don't know. I have a family friend who's a priest. And if a teenager was like, I want to be a priest, like he would come to him and be like, how do I become a priest? He would say to them, quote, go out and smell the flowers.
Oh, that's nice.
Which I didn't realize was code for get some pussy first and see how
it
you feel.
was.
I found out we had an updated conversation. I was like, what's smell the flowers? And he's like,
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, literally like, listen, you can't have
go
sex
out and
if
live
you're-
a life. You can't just go into being a priest like from like being a child. Like go out and become someone.
And I wonder if that comes from knowing so many people that became a priest when they were 18.
Yeah.
And then when they were fucking 25, they're like, I need to have
Well,
sex.
that's also what causes like really buttoned up priesthood, because then it's like all you know is the church. You never lived a life. You don't have any perspective outside of that. So it's like you're coming into this just with dogma. So yeah, that's such a healthy thing to say to like very aspirational kids wanting to join the churchhood. Wow, that's great. I love hearing stuff like that.
That's
very hopeful stuff. I love hearing stuff like that where people are just being people.
Yeah.
especially from like people who like I think like right now people become such like stereotypes just from like wearing a certain thing or having a certain identity, and it's very nice hearing that people are still people in those roles.
I mean, I went to Catholic school, and don't worry, I have plenty of crazy stories
Yeah,
about going to Catholic school. And
yeah,
a lot of people were obsessed with the fact that gay guys are getting married
yeah,
and lesbians are getting married, and that
Yeah.
there's first trimester abortions.
yeah,
For a lot of teachers felt that way, but a lot of teachers, I will say, were suspiciously silent on
Yeah.
these topics. And now as an adult, I'm like, oh, okay.
oh yeah,
They were,
you were a normal guy.
And I want to ask you about what life was like in high school, because I know you were lifting weights, of which I'm very jealous, but we have reached our time, unfortunately.
Oh no,
Time flies when you're having fun, Noah, but we'll definitely have you
this
back.
has flew,
It has flew. It's
flung.
flown.
flown.
Very well. Well, tell the people where they can find you.
You can find me on Instagram at Noah_Snyder. You can find me on TikTok at, I think, Noah-Snyder. I have no idea. I don't know what my TikTok is. Just search Noah Snyder, and it's me wearing a Yankee hat, no brim, doing this face. So if you find that, that's me. You can find me at the park. Most like anytime it's nice out, I'll be hanging out there looking at the drummers of the jazz band at Washington Square Park, maybe with a friend. You can come up and say hi. Don't hurt me. That's all I ask. And you can find me hanging out with friends like Bobby Sheehan.
And you can find Noah in all those places he told you. And thanks for watching.
Can I give them your phone number?
I would ask that you don't,
All right,
just because statistically one person will use it in a nefarious purpose.
that's true.
Which will be very funny, but
It would be really
an
funny.
inconvenience for me.
It would be really funny to add Bobby to the pedophiles database using his phone number.
Do not do that.
Dude, sorry, before we go, I have to tell you this. I have like Experian and like TransUnion and all that shit accounts. The only I don't get like any credit fraud updates from it. The only updates I get from it is that there's more sex offenders in my neighborhood. I got like 15 notifications in one day that 15 different sex offenders moved to my neighborhood.
And remember, folks, early to bed, early to rise makes a man healthy, wealthy, and wise.
You got it.
I'm just plain Night Owls. You know I love you.
Thank you.